The time is, I don't know, around 9 o'clock, uh, the 14th of September. So I need to make this clear, okay? By the time the GRU, Russian military, came here with the British Special Forces, I had been putting the British Special Forces on the social media, which I used as a means of communication with the good military. It's not a social media account for anything except for the good military, which is clear as day. By the time the GRU, and I was aware of the British Special Forces, were very present in and around S Street Northwest and 1509 S Street Northwest. By that time, I was then aware, I was at that point in time aware that I had witnessed a homicide upstairs with that female who I don't want to talk about how horrifying it was to hear her being killed, okay? At the time it happened, I put into writing and I stated verbally multiple different times after the homicide. I put in writing that I wasn't sure if I wrote this verbatim, her pimp beat her up. That's what I thought I had witnessed. I didn't know that that stench was a dead body the very next morning. I didn't understand any of this. But I knew that something horrible was happening at the same time. The night they had killed the first prostitute, and I reported it and put it in writing. I'm forbidden from talking about that witness testimony tonight on the calendar date. So I was a rookie at being hands-on involved with full-on eyewitness to homicide, okay? I had never been in a situation like that in my life. By the time, and I cannot talk about it, all right? Not on this calendar date. By the time they murdered another one of the hookers that lived here, there was 5 of them. They murdered the one in the kitchen, but they had killed another one up there before the kitchen. But by that time, when they killed the 2, especially the one in the kitchen, I knew the GRU and the British Special Ops were here. And I have said how I know to the public. I haven't said how I knew the GRU came, but we'll talk about that another time, okay? So it was pretty obvious there was military here. I mean, so I can't get into details or any verbal statements of what I mean by obvious, not on the calendar date today or tonight. But they then started butchering any women that were in here, okay? I had my door barricaded and I had the same plan to just bust out my windows and where to run. At that time, it was actually jump down to the backyard and go crawl over they hadn't quite built that gate, crawl over to 1507. I was to go out that way through that yard and just crawl over all the gates. I could do it. I knew it. And it was my route. And go down the alley. I knew exactly what way to go. But see, this is the point I'm making. I knew that the DCPD were involved with protecting the homicides here from the first time I witnessed it with the first woman that was killed upstairs. I was fully aware of that. But I still called them the 48 hours. It was 48 hours. Anyways, the good military knows it was within less than 72 hours. I called 911 here because of the dead freaking stinking bodies. They didn't respond. They sent the fire department. Now we all know about the fire department. The whole world knows about that. And the U.S. Navy trying to insurrect. Okay, it's serious freaking business with the murders they'll carry out. I'm a direct eyewitness to it. And everybody knows that the military's very aware of these evil humans. And that's why I am trying to remind the public as a duty of what they have asked for. These men in the U.S. Armed Services have asked for. Okay? At the Pentagon, you want to protect a terrorist cell, you know the consequences. And it's not my department to tell these men at the Pentagon those consequences. It's not expected. In fact, I'm forbidden from saying that. Anyone with common sense knows what's coming. Okay? It's my duty to inform the public of how severe the consequences are. At least somebody's letting you know we're on the brink of nuclear war. And why, and who, etc., etc. Somebody needs to do it. Point here is I knew unequivocally, concretely, how involved the local police were with these homicides. And by the time they killed the hooker in the kitchen, I'll never forget that one. It was horrifying. There was no way that I could possibly call the police. I knew that. But what I had done after that is I know I had been an eyewitness to multiple murders. Oh God. Oh, forget it. There's no question with what's been happening, right? The one, and then they did another one upstairs, and then by the one they did in the kitchen, I was not wondering, okay, I am not witnessing hookers getting beat up by their pimps. No. So I learned fast, okay? It was not that. The hookers were being killed in here is what I quickly realized. And so I had my escape routes like that to bust windows out and just fucking run. So that scene I really appreciate that scene. It was very realistic. And the point is to run. It doesn't matter if you have injuries, run. Because the people holding you captive, the people who are killing people in front of you will do far worse than a fucking stitch from the doctor, okay? And another thing is, I don't know what you're watching on TV, but if you want to learn karate and you're a woman, you need to learn one thing. Your point to karate is to get away from the predator. Your point to karate is not to get into it with him and think you're going to break his fingers and think you're going to fight anyone. Your point is to use those skills to get away or to save your life. If he's a karate master and he's getting into kung fu with you, you're never supposed to stay and engage in combat. You're supposed to get away. You are the weaker sex. I don't know what you're thinking in the West, okay? I'm not putting women down, but the point is, if you got a man holding you in a chokehold, why do you think you're going to use your brown belt, your black belt, your orange belt to karate chop and break some fingers unless you're an absolute idiot? You're just going to get away. That's the point of all your martial arts. You want to show how good you are, then go to a martial arts match, a game where they do the game, the martial arts game, and you find an opponent that you can show your arts off with. You don't use it in a real life threatening situation unless you want to find out your predator pulled out a switchblade and there you go, you're done for because you decided to stay and show off your martial arts skill to a guy who just put you in a chokehold. You should have just ran away. Okay, that's the only and sole point for any woman ever learning martial arts. All right. You can send them to the ER. Go ahead if you have some sort of way to do that, but you don't stick around to do that. In the means, and while you're doing, defending yourself to get away from him, sure, put him in the ER. Use any sort of martial arts tactic you've learned to put him in the ER after you've run away. Okay, that was all you did. So you can tell the law enforcement in a good country, not a country like this, because the law enforcement here, after 6 years, is solely and only classified as a terrorist organization that dismembers dead bodies and organ harvesters and protects cannibals. Also, the DCPD are classified as manufacturing chemical explosive weapons. So you can't call a police force like this, but hypothetically, you could call one and say, yeah, I'm pretty sure I did this to him. It's very possible he has an injury. But I didn't stick around to show off my karate skills. I ran away. That was why I learned karate. Okay, but anyway, so by the time they were killing hookers downstairs, this shit was brutal down there. And the GRU was here, and I fucking knew it. No, it was like a day or two. It wasn't like I totally knew it. It was like a day or two when I knew that GRU was here. This is important to be clear because I know people listen to this and they're like, hold on, let me make this clear. I had just become aware that foreign special elite forces were here. Okay? Like within less than 72 hours, they then took out another hooker. So that's what I'm saying. I need to be correct in this statement. They started wiping out anyone they could get to. And I was barricading myself at that point. And we can tell the story, the rest of the story of all these years later. It was fucking horrifying in here, dude. I was barricading that door at night. You're damn fucking right. They had been slaughtering women in the kitchen, slaughtering women upstairs. They were slaughtering all the fucking women that lived here. Yep, and I was witnessing it all with my door fucking damn right barricaded. And I was just a new baby at realizing about special forces, paramilitary forces. These are good guys. Elite special ops. I was just a new baby at this. And I want to close with this. These foreign good guys, you don't know they're there. I have no idea how long they've been here around me. None. I don't know if I'll ever know. That's their information. I don't know, okay? If they want to tell me, okay. But this is serious business here. We are by the White House, and they had the police department protecting this crap. It's not crap, it's historic terrorism. But that is why I didn't call the cops, quote unquote, when they were, killing women in the kitchen and killing women upstairs. I did try to call the cops when they did the first woman, and I need to make this public record. I called them, the fire department, then I called back the police department about a week later, and it ended up a third time. By that time, the good guys have record of all this, so the dates and what I said and what they were, what do you call the word? What they were watching, that's my word I can recall, is they were watching this, surveying what the good guys were surveying here. This stuff will be properly, professionally documented. I did my due diligence in documenting it the best I could under this kind of terrorism. But I do know that by the time the elite special forces, and I was cognizant of that, I just stopped calling the fucking fire department and police. There was no reason to do that. All right, goodbye.